Jason's Academy, Social Science Class 6th, History Lesson 6, The Vedic Age. Hello students, today we are going to start History Lesson 6, The Vedic Age. First, let's understand that what is the Vedic Age. The Vedic Age is the heroic age of ancient Indian civilization. It is also the formative period when the basic foundations of Indian civilization were laid down. These include the emergence of early Hinduism as the foundation religion of India and the social or religious phenomenon known as caste. This period of India's history lasted from around 1500 BCE through to 500 BCE, that is, from the early days of the Aryan migration into northwest India through the age of the Buddha. Let's start the first topic of this chapter, Aryans in India. Among the various group of mankind, the Aryans are the most famous. In Sanskrit language, the word Arya means the man of noble character and the free-born. The descendants of the ancient Aryan race spread over wide areas of Europe and Asia. From the earliest Aryan language, classical languages as Sanskrit, Latin and Greek came into being. From these languages, again, several other languages developed. They all form the Aryan family of languages. Nobody can exactly say which place on earth was the earliest home of the Aryan people. To some Indian scholars, the Aryan were the original inhabitants of India and they did not come to this land from outside. On the other hand, some patriotic European scholars believe that the Aryans originally lived on the shores of the faraway Baltic Sea. Majority of historians, however, believe that the early Aryans lived in that region of Europe which now comprise such places as Austria, Hungary and Bohemia. But it is considered that Vedic age began with the arrival of the Aryans. Let's see the second topic of this chapter, which is literary sources. The period of the Aryan in India is known as the Vedic age. It consists of three classes of literature. First one is the Vedas. The term Veda means knowledge. Vedic literatures are most important sources of knowledge about Aryans and Vedic period. The literature had grown in the course of many centuries and was handed down from generation to generation by word of mouth, which also called Shruti. There are four Vedas, that are Rig Veda, Samved, Yajurved and Atharved. Let's first see about Rig Veda. Rig Veda compiled around 1500 to 1000 BC. Literal meaning of the term Rig is to praise. Rig Veda is a collection of hymns. Rig Veda volumes are called mandals. In Rig Veda, rishis who were expert were called Hotra or Hotri. It has many things in common with Zend Avesta, which is the oldest text in Iranian language. Second Ved is Samved. Samved is a collection of songs and most of the songs were taken from the hymns of Rig Veda. Udgatri was the expert of Samved. Compilation laid the foundation of Indian music. Third Ved is Yajurved. Yajurved is the collection of sacrificial formulae. It describes the rituals to be followed at the time of recitation of mantra. Advaryu was the expert of the knowledge of Yajurved. It contains both prose and poetry. It is divided into two parts, Krishna Yajurved and Shukla Yajurved. Fourth one is Atharved. Atharved is the collection of charms and spells. It contains magical hymns to get relief from diseases. Indian medicinal science, that is Ayurveda, has its origin from Atharved. Second literature is the Brahmans. Brahmans contain details about the meaning of Vedic hymns, their application and stories of their origins. Aitri or Kaushitki Brahman were allotted to the Rigved for detailing. Tandya and Jaiminya Brahman to Samved for detailing. Tetriya and Shatpat Brahman to Yajurved for detailing. Gopat Brahman to the Atharved for detailing. Third literature is the Arankas. Aryans means forest, written in forest for the hermits and students of the Vedas. It initiated a changeover from materialistic religion to spiritual religion. They are like a bridge between Vedas, Brahmans and Upanishads. Next one is the Upanishads, the last phase of Vedic literature. It deals with metaphysics, that is philosophy. It is also called Vedant, which contains subject about matter about soul, Brahman, rebirth and theory of karma. It emphasizes the path of knowledge. The literal meaning of Upanishad is to sit near the feet of. And the important Upanishads are Chandogya Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Kat Upanishad, Isha Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad and Mundaka Upanishad. Conversation of Yam and Nachiket is the subject matter of Kat Upanishad. Satmev Jayate is the national emblem is taken from Munkat Upanishad. Next topic is archaeological sources. Natural settlement like brick structures that depict the type of housing, artifacts like coins, tools, pottery, etc. are some of the archaeological sources that highlights the style of people who lived during the Vedic age. The Vedic period has two phases, that are the early Vedic age and the later Vedic age. The early Vedic age started from 1500 to 1000 BC and later Vedic age started from 1000 to 600 BC. It is considered that the life of the Aryans in early Vedic period was not settled, but later on when they started settling themselves, they started doing farming or agriculture, which developed small villages. In Vedic age, the houses were made of wood, mud and grass. The condition of women was very good, as in early Vedic age, women get equal respect as men. They used to participate in religious rituals and received higher education. But during later Vedic period, women started losing their respect and importance. The dressing was same but similar of that of Harappans. Wools and cottons were used to make dresses. Men wore dhoti and turbans while women wore sari. Men and women both used to wear ornaments of gold, silver and other metals. People of that age used to take simple and nourishing food. Next topic is Varna system. Varna literally means color, hue or complexion. It has other meanings such as the class of man, tribe, race, species, a word or syllable. Outward appearance, form, figure, a cloak or mantle and the arrangement of the subject in a song. In other words, Varna primarily refers to the physical appearance of things or people and their categorization based upon the common characteristics they share. Varna karma refers to the order of caste or the alphabetical arrangement of letters. Varna dharma refers to the duties of each one. The Vedic society in the early days of its formation had four Varna, namely Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. They were not equal in status, although created by the same source but part of karma or order. Brahmins occupied the highest position as gods upon the earth, except in certain Vedic rituals where they had to sit below the king. Their position in society was unassailable. Kshatriya were next. They had the right to claim the authority of God to rule upon earth as his representatives and enforces laws. Vaishya came later and Shudra were the last. Just as there were three Vedas, it seems in the beginning there were only three Varnas. The fourth one was probably a later addition, formed by dividing the Vaishya into two groups as agriculture and cattle rearing became an important part of the Vedic economy. The Varna system helped Vedic society to protect and preserve family occupations and job specific skills and ensure the continuation of family lineages while minimizing conflicts and competition between them. Each one was entrusted with a set of specific duties. which were collectively called the Dharma. Brahmins worshipped fire and engaged in priestly duties. Kshatriya worshipped gods of royalty such as Brahma, Indra, Prajapati, Vayu, Som, Mitra, Varun, and engaged in the duties of warriors. Vaishyas worshipped Vishwadevas, the god of communality, and engaged in trade and commerce. Finally, the Shudra worshipped Pushan, the god of the earth, and engaged in obedient service to the other three groups. Next topic is economic life. The economy was essentially agricultural economy. They introduced use of plough drawn by oxen and bulls. The ploughed land was called urvar or kshetra. The main source of irrigation was rain. The land was also irrigated by wells and small canals. Two crops were raised a year. Animal rearing was the second important occupation of the Aryans. There are references of herdsmen. Cows and bullocks constituted the chief forms of wealth. Cow was considered a sacred animal and was called Agnya. Animals was used to carry goods and agriculture. They reared sheep, goat, bulls, cow and dogs. The carpenter were an important class in this society. Other important crafts of the Aryan were barbers, tailors, leather workers, smith, gold, potters, etc. They also introduced the painted grey ware in North India. Trade and commerce also flourished in those days. Most of the trade was in the hands of Panis. Trade was carried both by land and sea. Majority of the trade was carried on the help of the barter system, and cow was a standard unit of exchange. Later on, coin of gold and silver called nishk, shatmana, rajat and rupaya were called as currencies. Next topic is political life during the Vedic age. The information found in Rig Veda Samhita throws light on nature and characteristics. The institution and practices of politico-admin life during the early Vedic age. The early Vedic age polity was tribal in nature because Vedic Aryans were living in small tribal groups. The tribal chiefs were responsible for politico-administrative matters. The concept of state was absent during the early Vedic age because the Aryans were living the nomadic life, as a result of which definite territorial identity was absent. Democratic elements were present in political life during the early Vedic age. Rig Veda Samhita contains a reference to several popular assemblies such as Sabha, Samiti, Vedant and Parishad and Gan. Sabha was the assembly of Brahmins and elders. Samiti was an assembly of commons. Vedant was responsible for distributing war booty among members of the tribe. Parishad was like a legislative body which common issues were discussed. Gan, highest advisory body. Both men and women were used to participate in the meeting and Sabha and Samiti. The Vedic polity was liberal and progressive. Rigid political restrictions were absent. People enjoyed a high degree of freedom in their public and private life. Next topic is religious life. Significant changes took place in religious and philosophy during this period. Many of the old gods lost their importance and new so-called gods and goddesses rose in popularity. Rudra or Shiva, Vishnu or Narayan, and Brahm or Prajapati became the most respected names in godlines. Prajapati, the creator, or Brahma, occupied the supreme position in the religion. Durga, Kali and Parvati were also worshipped. The Aryans started worshipping certain objects as symbol of divinity. Idol worship also began in this period. Rituals became very complex. Emphasis was laid on 40 Samkarsh. Sacrifices became more important and now they were being performed by priests only. This was done to maintain the supremacy of the Brahmins and the Kshatriya in the society. No ceremony was considered complete in the absence of a Purohita. Therefore, they got a special status in the society. The chief priests who were engaged in performing sacrifices were Hoti the invoker, Advaryu the executor, Udgatri the singer. The chief priest received voluntary offering from the people called Bali. The Aryans followed a strict code of discipline in life which was divided into four well-defined parts. The whole span of life was of 100 years. Let's see this strict code of discipline. First, code of discipline is Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is typically translated as going after Brahman or behavior that leads to Brahman, with Brahman being the divine creator or higher self. In Hinduism and yoga, it is often associated with celibacy. The Sanskrit term is derived from Brahman, meaning ultimate reality or divine creator, and Charya, meaning to move or to follow. Brahmacharya is also frequently translated as right use of energy. Next is Grahastha. Grahastha is a Sanskrit word meaning householder. In Hinduism, it is the second of four life stages that an individual completes in order to fully develop as a person. In this stage, the individual devotes his or her time to working, maintaining their home, and raising a family. Within a deep or advanced spiritual yoga practice, some may surrender this part of life in order to devote themselves in the practice of teaching yoga. Third stage is Vanprastha. Vanprastha is a Sanskrit term derived from Van, meaning forest, and Prastha means going to. Therefore, it may be translated as retiring to the forest. This is one of the most important concepts in the Hindu religion, as it represents the third of the four ashram of life of stages. Fourth and last stage is sannyas. Sannyas is a Sanskrit term that refers to a stage in person's life or spiritual development in which one renounces material possessions to concentrate purely on spiritual matters. Their goal at this point is to achieve moksha, which is liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth. So class, here we have completed this chapter. I hope you would have understood. Thank you.